Hey everybody, it's Bob Phibbs, the Retail Doc. Thanks for joining me. Today is Thursday, July the 15th, and you are live with the Retail Doc. Unless, of course, you're watching this afterwards when it is on replay. So do me a favor, if you're watching live with me, type in and let me know where you're joining in from around the world, because we have so many people who check in with me throughout the broadcast, and I read every single comment. So I also encourage you that as I'm going along, do me a favor and comment, because that's the only way I know that you're there and the only way that you're able to get value of joining me live. So let me know where you're joining in from. And if you have a question for me to answer, then you can only answer that when I'm live. But do that because this is your time with me. And frankly, hey, Luis from Mexico City, I'm glad you're here today. Thank you very much. And I used to do these every single Saturday at 9 a.m. Sunday at 9 a.m. for 4 or 5 years. And finally, a few months ago, it was getting harder and harder to get questions. And I just said, why am I pulling my hair out about this? If they don't want to ask questions, why the heck am I doing it? So I said, well, let's do it once or twice a month and see what happens with that. And also do it at my regular daytime so I can actually get a day off. So if you can give me some time today and give me some questions, I would sure love it. Hey, Ed, I'm glad you're here. Melanie in Chicago, Mohammed in Egypt, Judy in Houston, Allison in Pineville, Louisiana. We've got someone in Kenya. All right. So wonderful. Monique from Ontario. Ed in Tampa. Nice and sticky Tampa. Good job. Well, listen, I was hearing somebody tell me the other day, oh, I wish I could be a millionaire. I just wish I could be a millionaire. And I thought, well, we're all millionaires. We either have $1 million or we have a million excuses. It's one of the two. And too many of us, I think, have been putting up with excuses. I was talking to a friend of mine, and she was telling me how she was at an industry event, and she went out to dinner with one of her manufacturers. And the guy was saying, well, I don't think the ships are going to be unloaded until after Thanksgiving, and they're going to miss holiday entirely. And so she wanted me to know what my thoughts were on that. And I said, well, why are you talking to that manufacturer? That's not a guy you're going to build your business on. That's a guy that's like, oh, so it's not our fault, right? So just be careful of the excuses that you are bringing into your business, either through your vendors or allowing into your own brain, right? Because, oh, you don't understand, Bob. Supply line's broken. I get it. Supply line's broken. We all get it. I don't care what you sell. Supply line's broken. Let's just take that off the list of things we can complain about. Oh, and it's hard to get good employees. It's always been hard to get good employees. Oh, but now there's the resignation factor. It's like, I get it. But what's it going to do to help you build your business? See, I think so many times we let ourselves get away with things, which is why when somebody hires me as a consultant and I'm able to call them on their crap and go like, dude, that's an excuse. Why didn't you do it? And so here's something that I thought I would share with you. I was going to do a separate video, but I think I'll just share with you. So, if you were to look at my desk right now, I only have 5 Post-it notes on my desk. Various things I need to do. And I have a pad of paper and I've got some other notes. And one of the things that I find is I get started on something and then I stop and check Facebook, or I've got to do this or anything else but what I should be doing, right? And have you had that happen? If you have, put in the comments why. Just put a why. Yes. Does that happen with you? Does that happen with you? Am I speaking to people who that doesn't happen to? If that happens to you, just put a why and let me know. So here's what I've discovered is that what happens is I'm in this project and then there's some kind of stress that comes along and I want to get rid of the stress. So instead of finishing the project, I go over here. We're like, oh, I'll just go and I'll do this thing, or I'll check Facebook, or I'll answer an email. I've got to do that. And it provides that relief. It's almost like, you go when you're stressed, you go and have a drink or you have food or something like that. Some people do exercise. But what happens to me at that moment is I realize I'm not keeping my focus, which is to build my business. That's what I've got to associate more of what's good about me staying on task than not. So here's my little tip is when you get into one of those moments where suddenly you realize I've stopped and I'm now overdoing something else. Maybe you're already checking email while you're watching this. I don't know. Just stop and just say, well, this is interesting. Just notice yourself, because you're not your thoughts. Just notice what you're doing as an actor. Like, oh, that's interesting. I'm stopping working on this and I'm over here on Facebook. What's going on? And then just tell yourself, well, what is it? And if you can answer that, that's the best. You could say, like, I don't like right now, I'm writing a 1,000-word article that's due tomorrow morning. I have to get it done. I've known about this for 6 weeks, but I'm waiting till the last minute, right? So just see what's going on. Is like, oh, I'm avoiding this. And then just count down to yourself. You could go from 10, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. You could do 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I don't think 3, 2, 1 is going to be long enough. And give yourself that moment of clarity and say, but wait a minute, what's my ultimate goal about doing this? I want to build sales. 6 months from now, I want to be able to have a great holiday season. I want to add a new employee. I want to master SEO, whatever it's going to be. Then when you're clear on that, then just get back to the task. See, so many times we think if we read a BuzzFeed article or I saw it on Cheddar, and it's like, oh, it's not that you need to be taught as much as just reminded, oh, what's most important? What's most important is your time and looking at yourself as an actor in a story instead of thinking, oh, I just have no control. You have every control over the way we think, over the things we do, and more importantly, over the procrastination that we allow ourselves to do. If that makes sense to you, give me a why. Let me know. Is that true? Is that true for you? Hey, Lydia, I'm glad you're here from Kenya. Oh, great. Mohammed, glad you're there. I mean, focus is the key. Yes, that's exactly right. We got several people in from Africa. Awesome. Melanie, so me. Great. Excellent. All right, so I only have a couple of questions here today. Again, if you want to give me a question, I would love to answer it. But if I don't get a lot, then I will be out of here probably in the next 3 to 5 minutes. So if you want to let me know, that would be great. Mohammed says, how to make a base for a good retail? What are the steps? I'm not sure what your question is there. You mean a sale? You mean a store? I need a little bit more information, Mohammed. So if you want to type that in, I can get back to you. Hopefully you're still there with me. All right. So somebody just says, how do I get better employees? Well, that's pretty easy. Just think about it and be proactive. I was in Lowe's the other day and over the loudspeakers, we have a lot of job opportunities for you that are available in all kinds of departments. Just go to www.lowe's/job opportunities or something like that. And I was like, really? Do you really think someone is sitting there like, oh, let me get that down? What would have been better is, which, by the way, Lowe's, when your garden center is closed, when it's the planting season, because you don't have enough help, you need to reallocate resources somehow. I don't know what the answer is, but customers who want to give you money should never be a secondary idea. But in any event, wouldn't it have been better, though, if the cashiers, or the better yet, the manager, just had a little card with a little QR code and it said, hey, if you know anyone that's looking for hours, we start at this and we got great benefits. All they have to do is scan that QR code and apply online. Done. What about a busy supermarket? What about a busy Starbucks or coffee house, or you name it, where there's a bunch of people in line? You could easily work the line quicker and drive employment. But we don't. We wait to put up a lame now hiring like everyone else. Or worse, you put up the sign, put up with our crappy service because we can't get enough people. No one wants to see that when we walk in a store. Do you understand that? Like, no one wants to see that about a restaurant. And I get it. There was a story in the Washington Post today about how employees are quitting in a lot of restaurants in the Northeast because they're being taken, people are treating them so poorly. But I wonder how many of them really had a training process underneath it or set expectations when people came in, and how many just put a sign up like, oh, sorry, we're delayed. If somebody's waiting 45 minutes to get into your restaurant and then 45 minutes to get their food, that's kind of like a commitment, right? It's let's go to the restaurant and spend 3 hours. People don't want to do that. So figure it out, but get more people. So one of the things I would suggest you do, if you've got a good email list, and if you don't have a good email list, now is the time to come up with one. Just send an email with a quick subject line. If you love shopping here, think about joining us. And then just give us 2 or 3 bullets about what you do. Again, a quick QR code or a link that takes us to it. But you got to proactively look at ways you could do it. Another one that I've talked about, if you saw Dunkin' Donuts, I posted this the other night on LinkedIn, that last night, one of their influencers, Maria, and I never quite know how to say her last name, she at 6 o'clock yesterday on her Instagram, Dunkin' Donuts started this new series, A Day in the Life of. And what makes it so amazing is she actually worked at Dunkin' a long time ago. And they have figured out that if they can show it, they can attract people. You could do that too. You could do it on Instagram. You could do it on Facebook. Well, Bob, people don't like working for me. Well, we probably have to start with that, right? How do we fix that? And then we can get more people, because the people that like working in a great environment know other people that like working in a great environment. And the other side too, people who can't get a job in a place that has a great environment feel stuck, and they're going to attract other people who feel stuck. And then you really never get traction, because people want to know that here's the training program, here's the guardrails, we're going to reward you if you do it. So those are the 2 that I would do. And then the third one would, of course, be looking at your benefits and flexibility. But make sure you understand that millennials and Gen Z want personal enrichment. How are you going to make them a better person? So if if we are really going through the great resignation that they are all loving it's right up there with retail apocalypse, right? They're all putting out there. If that really is the case, then understand that mind, if it's not learning, is turning in on itself. Yeah, you can write that down. Meaning, if you aren't teaching something, if you aren't correlating one piece of data to something else, if you aren't helping them be better people or better salespeople, then what's going to happen is they're going to default to their girlfriend, boyfriend, significant other, which is the phone, because it's much more interesting. So if you're in a retail store, you could be explaining how we get to margins, or why, if you've got a second location, what are some of the things you did to pick it out? But each day you're teaching anything. It doesn't have to be a 4-day, going away somewhere. Just a piece of information about how to be a better entrepreneur or a better person, or how you choose a charity if you're going to be giving things away, or how do you work an event, or why you did a certain thing for Instagram. It doesn't matter. Does that make sense? If that makes sense to you, just type in, yes, that makes sense to me. Because otherwise, you're just sitting there waiting for Bob to finish the broadcast, and you have to be involved. If you're going to be watching this, for it to actually stick, you've got to actually make the brain say, what did he say? Do I agree with that? And then when you ask people to comment, then it helps solidify it, and they go, oh yeah, I did hear that. Oh yes, that is what I'm thinking about. So that's good. Thank you, Margot. Thank you, Mike, for joining in. I appreciate that. If you're watching later, don't worry, I will be watching that as well. You can always comment in the replay as well. Nisha says, hi, Bob. I'm from Bowie, Maryland. Got any advice for industrial engineers starting out? It's the same thing I would explain to anybody who is getting into a new market. Is really simple. You need to hit it out of the park. So whatever you're going to do, make sure that your goal is to hit it out of the park. One of my very first client was 30 plus years ago, a little coffee roaster, and ended up going out of the New York Times. And my story is not what I'm going to go into right now. But when I was doing it, and I pretty much convinced Mike to let me basically take over his store, I was up on a ladder changing lights. I was cleaning things. I was hiring. I was training. I was learning how it all worked. I was marketing. I was doing it all, because I said, when I got into it, this is the one that I'm going to hit out of the park. And lo and behold, that I was lucky that that's it. But you've got to approach it as, I've got to hit it out of the park, right? You can't just be, I'm playing the game. Yeah, I did a job, and they liked me, and now I'm looking for another job. You've really got to hit it out of the park. And then you got bragging rights. The same thing if you're a consultant, same thing if you're a picture framer. I know, Mohammed, that same idea that, you've got to have a really wow moment that someone can go like, yeah, I trust you. And until you have that, you're just someone else's opinion. That's part of why big brands come to me, because they know I'm the people guy. If you want to master retail, if you want to drive conversion, drive add-ons, get employee loyalty, get raving customers, you're going to come to me. If you want to do digital initiatives and beacons and price and promotion and all that kind of stuff, I'm not your guy. My little niche, I want to hit it out of the park, is with people. And that's why I work with some of the best brands in the world. So the same for you. Know what your niche is and hit it out of the park. I hope that helps. Mohammed, I think the key to keep your staff is to get more engaged with them. Exactly. I tried it and it works. People love to feel important and appreciated. It's a great point, Mohammed. I would add that it's not a matter of becoming your family. You know, I've gone into some businesses sometimes and the owner is so involved in what everybody's little dramas are and they know everybody's backstory, so they can't hold them accountable. Oh, you know, John, he really had a hard time. He lost his whatever and he had a whatever. So, well, if that becomes family, then it's going to limit your ability to drive the store. So I encourage you. I agree with you, Mohammed. Just make sure you don't go the next level, which is we're going out to drinks tonight. Let's all go. It's not friends. It's not cheers. It's a matter of understanding that there are boundaries. And if you're going to hold people accountable, then they've got to see the same person wherever they meet you. You don't want to let your guard down and suddenly be their buddy, because that's how things go wrong. All right. Mike, making that family is the biggest mistake ever. Yeah, we all seem to do that. We've all been there, right? I always say, before you hire someone, could you fire them? And if you have to answer no, then you shouldn't be hiring them. And I don't know who that is. So there you go. All right. So, and one more question, how to get more reviews online. You know, that's a great question, Marcia. The one thing that I found is that, you know, as much as there's a lot of fraud in online reviews and there's an awful lot of gaming the system and all of that, at the end of the day, most of us still trust online reviews. And so I was speaking at the National Pawn Association in Dallas this last Sunday morning. 500 people. It was a great event. Wonderful. Thank you for having me. Wonderful. And one of the examples I used was I had a slide of, I just did a quick Google search of pawn stores near me. And so instantly it comes up with this name of this pawn store, and they have 1,100 reviews. And then the second one is the same company, a second location with like 1,000 reviews. And then the next one had like 60, and it was a competitor. And I said, now, the reason why they kept coming up is because the more reviews, the more positive reviews you have, the better. And, you know, I've certainly talked about using Podium. I'm a paid influencer for them, but I use Podium on my own site, as a matter of fact, where you can actually turn your landline into a textable line, but also you can then, after a sale, you can ask for a review. Really great, really smart. It's a quick, easy thing to do, because as soon as they click that review goes up to your Google page, and it makes a huge difference on what it shows people who are just looking. And make no mistake, we're in an omnichannel world. I'm not some Luddite that says we don't need digital. I'm just saying, yeah, most people start online. It's just when they get to the store, they expect human beings, not a robot or self-service. Am I on the schedule today? I have to check out? You know, it's that kind of thing. So in any event, I was talking, this young woman came up to me and she says, oh, thanks for showing our store. And I said, well, what's the story? She goes, oh, we've been around for, I think it was 50 or 60 years. And, you know, my grandfather started it, and reviews are really important to us. And I said, well, how do you get 1,100? And the next one had 60. She goes, we solicit them. I go, well, everybody solicits them. She goes, no. After every transaction, you know, we ask if they give a review, and then my grandmother calls them that week. I said, she does not. She goes, oh, yes, she does. And she loves doing it, and they love getting her call, and she ends up having them do that. So maybe get your grandmother to call them up. But I think the feedback that's so good about that is, and she says she makes 400 calls a week. Now, I want you to think about, if it's really important to you, if we go back to that procrastination thing, oh, it's not really that important. If it's really that important, then you're going to figure out, how do I do it? And one of the things that they were able to realize is, we've been around for a long time, but the new thing is reviews. We've got to make sure we master that. So I hope that gives you some ideas on getting more employees. Again, subject line, email to your own list. You can also take out Facebook ads. By the way, if you're going to take them out, then you always say, I'm adding shifts. It sounds like you're successful, not some desperation. We'll do anything. I live up here in rural New York, and the local McDonald's for the last month has had starting salary or starting wage $14.50 an hour. And I just drove by them yesterday, and it's up to 15. And I thought, at this point, why don't you just say 16? But again, if you're just going to be to say, we'll pay more, I think you're going to have a high turnover. You've got to do something that gets this next generation, the TikTok generation, which, by the way, I'm starting a TikTok channel. So take a look for me on TikTok. Get them to learn something, and they're going to be your best ambassadors. Because if you make your employees' day, they make customers' day. It's always laughable to me when somebody has this great mission statement and they talk about helping you find your purpose. No, that's not the point of retail. It's to make a sale, make the customer's day, and get a sale. Just like it's not an employee's job to find their purpose at your work. It's to find what they're good at, and then you help them succeed at it. Does that make sense? If that makes sense, give me a yes. Give me a yes. Let me know you're down there, because it's always tough to do in the middle of the day, and I just appreciate you being here with me live. So how do you establish those boundaries? I'm the kind of person who prefers to make friends with my coworkers. So Nisha, the question you have to ask is it about you or is it about them? Maybe you find a meetup group. There's plenty of them around that have different things. You could do photography, you could do dance, you could do theater, all sorts of reasons. Maybe it's that excitement of meeting people, but that familiarity, when you cross it, you are not going to be able to hold them accountable. And at that point, you have let your own personal goals be something that is probably at odds with a business that needs to make a profit. So many of you have yet to really commit to your business. You've got a job and you bitch about it. Maybe not all of you, some of you out there. And you know what you could do? Get your checkbook and write a blank check out to yourself for some crazy amount of money this year. $10,000, maybe that's yours. Maybe it's $50,000, maybe it's $100. Put it on your mirror when you get up in the morning and say, that's the commitment I have to myself, and I'm not going to let somebody else get in the way of it. Doesn't mean you end up being a jerk, just means you're focused on what you get out of it. So many people that work in a business or own a business, they don't know what it is, and they end up putting themselves last. And I think, Nisha, I think that's the same thing. You're putting yourself last if you put your employees on an equal plane with you. They've got to be, that's the reality. It's you and here. You ever walk down the street and see a dog wagging its tail? You're the dog, they're the tail. I don't mean that as something like they're not worthy of your time or they're worse than you. That's not it. But you are the one that dictates what they do. That's what a boss does. If we're all together, then they can be or worse. Sometimes we've all had that person. They're wagging you. That's when you end up firing them, because you're like, I don't want to be wagged, and I want to be doing this. So just be careful of power dynamics in that. I hope that helps. Mike, how do you increase reviews? Just ask. Yes, we ask some of our best experiences to give us a review, especially if we've had that you're a lifesaver impact. Yeah, Mike, the key is going that next level like grandma. When it's really that good, it's just making it so easy. That's why a follow-up email that's got a link, very much like Amazon does, that takes them right to your page on Google, and you can get that from Google My Business. It makes it really easy. And don't get into a long, detailed thing. Just say, we think you love us. We'd love to have you give us a review. Here's the link. We hope to see you soon. It's that kind of thing, right? Kaylin says, love Podium. I use that for my retail store. Oh, look at that. And with your own little, with your URL in there. Nice going, Kaylin. I like that. Excellent, excellent. I like what I'm hearing, Ed. Well, Ed, I appreciate that. That always makes it good for me. Well, I hope you've enjoyed spending the last 20 minutes with me. I'm excited about brick and mortar retail. I'm excited about the possibilities that I can have on you, because at the end of the day, we're all millionaires. We either got the money or we got the excuses. At some point, you got to get rid of the excuses and hold yourself accountable, and then hold your crew accountable if you want to end up getting the money in the bank. So with that, I appreciate you joining me today. If you like what I had to say, you can certainly go through and share this with your friends, give it some likes, give me some other comments, because there's nobody out there that believes in you and in the brick and mortar retail stores like I do. If so, you'd let me know that, but I have yet to find it. So with that in mind, hopefully I'll see you next couple of weeks. And when I ask for questions, please give them to me so I have something more to talk about. I'm Bob Phibbs, the Retail Doc. Thanks for joining me today.